Hello, I'm Steve Phillips with, I used to be with Southern Skindiver Supply. Now my sons run it in Birmingham. And some of you know I'm a Civil War collector of artifacts, primarily artillery projectiles. I've found over 600 in the last 40 years and have built by what I find and then what I bought additionally. I have a real nice size collection, but I'm pretty lazy about making these videos, but I've got some good stuff I need to talk about, and since I'm getting long in the tooth, I need to go ahead and do it. So today I'm going to talk about the rarest relic that I've ever found, and maybe the rarest just about that there is. I picked it up diving and thought it was junk, but I just picked it up so I didn't have to listen to it again. It turned out to be fantastic. That day I had found a 12-pound ball, and I threw this piece of trash, this piece of old metal trash. I threw it in the tumbler with the 12-pounder just to help clean up the 12-pounder. And then after I got them out and rinsed them off, I noticed this one had a piece of copper in it. And I kept looking at that, and it looks just like an underplug that goes underneath the Borman shell. And so I went into my fuses and got some and compared the size. It's the same thing. And I then started trying to research and find out what it was. Well, what it turned out to be is very significant. This is a book written by Dr. Thatcher about the invention that his great-great-grandfather made, and telling all about Confederate coal torpedoes. And that's what I had found. Turned out to be extremely rare, and maybe the only one of this exact pattern. There were only 3 Confederate coal torpedoes known of until I found this one. One of them was on Jefferson Davis's desk when Richmond surrendered. He used it as a paperweight. And the other 2 were found at the Confederate spy headquarters in Canada. They're slightly different than mine. And those were 2 different varieties too, those 3. And they were made in Richmond. I'm not sure where the one I found was made. It may have been made in Richmond. That's all that was written down. But this was for the spies. Colonel Thomas Courtney was authorized by President Davis to form a spy department, and he was authorized 25 spies. Their weapon was a Confederate coal torpedo. Once it was found out by the Yankees about the coal torpedo, they sent out a memo, I guess you'd call it, orders that anybody caught with one of them was to be executed on the spot. So, needless to say, not a whole lot got written down by the actual spies themselves. But during the war, they did tremendous damage with them. What it's supposed to do is, this is just a piece of iron molded up to look like a piece of coal. Inside is a cavity. The cavity held about 4 ounces of powder, I understand, and then the plug screwed in. They then rolled it in like tar and then coal dust, so you couldn't distinguish it from a piece of coal. This was thrown by the spies into the coal bunkers that would supply the ships, the Union ships. they worked. It didn't have to be a big explosion. All it had to do was blow up a little bit to blow up the firebox, which blew up the boiler, which basically blew up the ship. They were extremely successful. They sank or severely damaged at least 6 ships and probably a lot more. The Greyhound was one, the Maria, the Chinago, and I think, and a lot of other people are coming around now to believe that this is what sunk the Sultana. The Sultana is the largest maritime loss in U.S. history ever. Around 1,800 people were killed when the Sultana sank in the Mississippi River. I thought I'd found trash, but it turned out to be just wonderful. Let's see. When I first started thinking what it might be, I carried it to my veterinarian and had him x-ray it just to see if it did have a cavity inside, which it did. So then I did more research and found out what I actually had. And it was, they put a nice article in American Digger magazine on it. After the war, one of Colonel Courtney's spies, when he was sick and dying in England, he said that he had put one of these on the Sultana and that he had sunk the Sultana, but he didn't, of course, mention it after the war. The Sultana sank right at the end of the war, and it would have been death for him if anybody found out about it. But this is the Coal Torpedo. Looks just like a piece of coal. Never know when your trash will turn out to be treasure. I found a lot of very rare relics, but this one is by far the most interesting. I think one of the spies threw it away to keep from being killed if he was found with it.